90.7 KPFK, Los Angeles.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire, where intimacy means insight, uncovering the truth about sex and relationships, delving into the science of seduction, your sex, your stories, and everything in between. This is Unzipped with Cary Harrison.
And it is Unzipped. Cary Harrison with you, your new best friend. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight, a little exploration. How about a lot of exploration? We're going to dig deep and learn about everything that's going on and where it's going to lead. This is going to be an important show because it's not fingernail tips and whatever you think you are expecting. It ain't going to be that. These are important and interesting times. We're also live streaming right now on YouTube. You can simply Google Cary Harrison YouTube and subscribe so we can stay connected when you show up at your destination, and then switch over to the stream on your phone at the Cary Harrison YouTube channel, Cary, by the way. And you can also easily find us at kpfk.net, live streaming at kpfk.net. Coming up, we're going to talk to the senior advisor for the Trump administration's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and what you didn't know is that our guest is trans at the same time that trans people are being erased from human history, at least many. Well, let's just say we're seeing that. We're going to get her insights, input on what this means and if trans is allowed or not, and what you have to do to be allowed or not. I remember interviewing the former Deputy Secretary of State under the Reagan administration. This was about 5-10 years ago, and asking him about communists. He said all communists were bad. So I asked him why the Chinese communists were good and we kept our factories there, and why Cuban communists were bad and we needed to starve them to death. And he blinked and gulped and left the room. So I don't have answers for this stuff. You ever notice how when authoritarians get their hands on power, one of the first things they do, right after jailing the journalists and rewriting history books, is they go after gay people. It's like a reflex. It's a political tradition as old as tyranny itself. And you'd think that these iron-fisted strongmen with their endless speeches about national purity and moral order would have bigger problems to solve. But no, they always make time for a crackdown on anyone who refuses to march in rigid lockstep with their dull, suffocating vision of the world. Why? Because authoritarians hate anything they can't control, and nothing unnerves them more than people who live freely, love whom they choose, and refuse to cower before the state. The existence of gay people, proud, defiant, unwilling to apologize for simply being, well, that pokes holes in the authoritarian fantasy of a perfectly ordered society. And if there's one thing a dictator can't stand, it's a reminder that human nature is more colorful, more complicated, and more uncontrollable than their cheap little slogans would like to have you believe. So they come down hard. They call it restoring morality or defending the nation's values. But that's just window dressing on the same old playbook, scapegoating a minority, stirring up fear, and distracting you while they strip away your rights too. Strip away your rights too. I'm just going to say that a third time. While they strip away your rights too. Because make no mistake, when they come for gay people first, it's never long before they come for everyone else. Even if you only do it with a couch. And that's what we're here to talk about today, not the couch. Why this tired old strategy, it just keeps working. What it says about the fragile egos of strongmen. And how history proves that whatever an authoritarian regime, whenever it tightens its grip, one of its first moves is to put a boot on the neck of those who dare to live freely. Panel tonight, joining us is Bianca von Krieg, not just another politician. She's an actress, an activist, and the first transgender woman to run for Congress. She took on Nancy Pelosi's seat, signed a pledge for term limits, and rewrote the Green New Deal for the fusion age. She went to MIT, it turns out. She fought for universal basic income, Medicare for all, and taxing the rich, yet paradoxically is a senior advisor to RFK Jr. and the brains behind his gold standard policy speech before his recent Senate confirmation. We're going to explore acceptable versus unacceptable trans people, acceptable versus unacceptable gay people, and what you have to do if you check a box called other when you're more Volodymyr Zelensky than a suction cup like Miss Lindsey Graham, another paradox in that administration. Also joining our panel is Luis Salazar, a gay California native raised in Arizona, served in the U.S. Navy under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He works in the nonprofit sector at the Hispanic Services Council, is an active Democratic organizer, and is president of the Hillsborough LGBTQ plus Democratic Caucus, vice president of the Florida LGBTQ plus Democratic Caucus, and a precinct captain in the Hillsborough Democratic Executive Committee in Tampa, Florida. It's amazing how I can say all of that without stumbling. He was also a delegate for the 2024 Democratic Convention and is going to be the upcoming 2025 Tampa Pride Grand Marshal. Finally, we have Nick Biscardi. This rounds us out to three: a gay Marine Corps veteran, healthcare professional, an advocate with a background in military service, medicine, and politics. He was raised across the U.S. He enlisted in the Marine Corps, but was discharged under the repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. He then studied nursing in Florida before earning a medical degree in China. He works on local politics, serves as the political action chair for the Hillsborough County LGBTQ Democratic Caucus in Tampa Bay, and is committed to an inclusivity and policy change. Nick Biscardi continues to advocate for meaningful progress. So we're going to start with Bianca Von Krieg. Cary Harrison with you, by the way. This is Unzipped. You can always go to caryharrison.com. Would love you to sign up for a free newsletter, favorite price, free. And that way we can provide not only transcripts of the show, but clips of the show and other stuff we simply cannot do on the radio. We're going to start with Bianca Von Krieg, a trans woman and former congressional candidate, current senior advisor to the Trump Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Bianca Von Krieg, I want to welcome you to Unzipped.
Thank you. It's good to be back. And obviously when I hear Unzipped, I think about freshness. So this just hit the mark.
Did you say Frenchman?
Freshness.
Oh, freshman, yes. Well, I can neither confirm nor deny ever having been one. But let's just jump into this. What does Donald Trump say about you being a trans and a senior advisor in his administration? We've all been told that the worst people on the planet that need to be scrubbed and scoured off the face of the earth are, in fact, trans people. Can you help us understand whether this is hypocrisy or if there are exceptions?
Well, a couple things. Technically, I am not on the HHS payroll. We're in transition. Two, she loves me. The quote I heard is, gorgeous looking girl, models could take a few tips from her. And that kind of reflects what he was like in the first administration too, which was mostly ambivalent towards trans people. It's only because of, I think, there's been some more radicalization in the LGBT movement that has, irked the ire of these culture wars. And that's been very unfortunate. I've been saying this since 2023 when I did, when I was on one of these OAN programs, and I said trans people really need to take it back because we were getting everything we wanted back in 2018, 2017. We were getting our surgeries, we were being accepted. And it seems like there was this need to broach things into more taboo areas children and schools and things like that. And it gets very more complicated. And it was very unfortunate the way things ended up. I always say good fences make good trans neighbors, and we need to respect.
Bianca, I'm not trying to be rude. If you could just speak up a little bit.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
It's unfortunate the way things played out. I've been warning about it for a while, since 2023 and maybe a little bit before. But good fences make good trans neighbors. We have to respect our cis and straight neighbors too, and their needs and wants as well, and not try to proselytize to young and impressionable children, as is seen to be happening with a few unfortunate cases.
So the Donald Trump, or the Donald, as he was once upon a time known by, is actually okay with trans people, but is reacting to a tiny percentage of people that have become highly visible So
Yeah.
he's clobbering the entire population of a group of people because 3 of them were too visible. What does that say for
I
everyone
would
else?
say it's more accurate to say he's responding to his base, which is responding to that, right? And it's unfortunate that the pendulum is swinging, has to swing these way for things to get done. And I've written memos about this to the administration saying, look, I understand that there's a lot of anger. I mean, there's a lot of anger, right? Because people are poor. And when you're poor, you get angry easily. Right? There's 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. We imprison more people per capita than Russia and China. Okay. People are angry, and they're, all it takes is a match. And unfortunately, this transgender thing is the match in the culture war that they need to, ignore the economic war. So yeah, we're an unfortunate casualty, but I've also been telling LGBT groups for a long time, tread lightly, because we've achieved a lot of success, and we don't want to lose it all because of some short-sightedness. So yeah, he's reacting to a few groups, but it's mostly the groups that support him are angry about it. And that's what's setting this off. Because
here's a question. How would they even know about it if he hadn't been yelling about it during his campaign? Like, nobody would even know that these people exist if he hadn't constantly been screaming about it, over and over ad nauseum. So it's not like I don't believe he's responding. I think he fed his base something that had never occurred to them in a million years, because they simply
no. This is circulating around. It was mostly circulating through corrupt media outlets like Fox News and OAN and Real America's Voice and all this other stuff. That started trying to make this thing a thing, to give him to give somebody some traction who wanted to have that traction. And because he chose the Republican Party, unfortunately, that's the path that gave him the traction. Unfortunately.
What does that say about his integrity then as a human being? If he doesn't really believe it, but he's saying he believes it, does that mean we shouldn't trust him?
I think it says about his integrity that he's trying to pick his battles, right? There are more important things to be focused on as a president, right? There are people who need housing, they need healthcare, they need, public safety, food. Those things are more important than, some LGBT needs sometimes. And we have to be very cognizant of that as citizens of this country. We're not just, LGBT people who exist in our own bubble. We're also citizens of this country, and we have to, be aware of our fellow citizens' needs and respond to them. I think that's what he's trying to do.
Cary,
I'm not speaking officially for him, by the way.
I'm going to bring in the panel in just a second. I'm just going to reset. This is Unzipped. You can go to CaryHarrison.com, and there you can find our free newsletter. Also, we're live streaming at YouTube. You can go to the Cary Harrison YouTube channel. You can see everybody, our attractive panel. Plus, you can go to kpfk.net if that's easier for you, kpfk.net, and you'll also get clips of this later on. Our panel, once again, we've got Bianca von Krieg, we've got Luis Salazar, and we've got Nick Biscardi. And I know you guys want to jump in too.
Yeah, Cary, this is Luis here. Ambivalence is not a word I would use to describe how Donald Trump feels about our community. It's very clear that we are being used as the scapegoat for his failures. Yeah, Bianca's right. People do need food. They do need housing. They do need all these things that are going wrong. But his failure to provide those things and the failure of this administration to move us forward is what's making him use us as a community, and especially the trans community, as the scapegoat for why he can't do his job or why things aren't going on. And this is clearly evident in the first 43 days that he's now been president. He's systematically erased us from the White House website, from all government agencies, taken away the T and the Q. This is just this is his MO. This is what he does. He comes in, he's a bully. He comes in and fails at giving the American public what he promised them to give them during the election cycle. And then when he does that, he's like, oh, well, let me turn on trans people because you know what? If everybody hates somebody, it's the trans community. And I'm going to make my base angry at them for not being able to get what they want. The plane's crashing, right? Like DEI made a plane crash into a helicopter. These ridiculous stories of why he is failing and then turning it on our community. And especially the trans people in our community, the trans brothers and sisters that are in our community, that are the number one victims of this failure of his presidency and not being able to accomplish his job. It's sad. It's not right.
I would disagree with a couple of those points. He's not trying to erase trans people. He's just saying that trans people can't be in the military or be in.
And why not?
Sport.
Why can't they? What is wrong with progress?
Okay,
why
well,
are we being told to go into the darkness again? That's not what we do.
I don't think trans people in the military is progress per se. I think trans people being.
Well, they said that about women too. Women in the military weren't allowed either. Yet here we are. Women are allowed.
All I can say about the military is they seem to have this qualification that in order to be effective in the military, you have to subscribe to this kind of culture, and that trans people and women may not be the best candidates for that. And that's the best analysis that I have of that.
So should we go back to 1950 where women belong behind the stove and not in education and not making progress? Then where do we go? If we're not going to allow, I mean, you're saying that women aren't allowed to now be in the military. Trans people can't be in the military. They're human beings. They're capable of doing just about anything we are, or me as a man. And
yeah, we're fully functional now.
You know, it's kind of interesting as we continue to explore this topic. We're told that one of the worst things in the world, and certainly you're going to have both sides, and there is a logical argument here. But the worst thing in the world is to have a trans woman in women's sports. In other words, once upon a time a man, now a woman in women's sport. It's an unfair advantage. Therefore, these people are superheroes. They are the Incredible Hulk. Wouldn't you want them on the front line in your military? Hell yes.
That is the greatest kind of twist I've ever heard played on this thing ever, Cary. Well done. You know, I think you're referring to the Brittany Gaines case or the Riley Gaines case or something like that. And what happened there, as far as I understand, is that the NCAA had pretty good rules on that as best they could. They were saying you have to have a basic serum level of estrogen in your bloodstream in order to qualify. So, you know, you couldn't be some sort of fly-by-night trans person who just decided to be trans, you know, the night before so you could win the competition or enter the competition. You had to show you were serious. Unfortunately, the person who was competing against this woman, the cis woman, was a trans person. And even though they had met the NCAA requirement, they had still had significant training as a dude, and as such had the faculties of that training, which was like, and God forgive me for saying this, I don't mean to be distasteful, but you know, her shoulders are built like a linebacker.
Right.
And that gives
so this is an advantage. If we're going to like get out there and fight a war, let's bring in our linebackers. And if they're multi-gender, all the better for us. If we have identified people that are so ferocious, so fierce, so impossible to knock down, they make people wither. Athletes get on their knees and quake in terror. The president of the United States stands at his pulpit, sweating and waving his arms around. Oh my God, these people aren't even human. They're so powerful. Why wouldn't we have a military of just them if we're going to win?
If that's the standard, we should airdrop Chuck Schumer into, like, you know, Iraq and let him
true. What I'm saying is literally like a math equation. 1 and 1 equals 2. If this is what we're being told, oh my God, these people are so strong that it's ruining the sport. It's like uneven. Then why wouldn't we want to have an asymmetrical military that can kick ass simply by walking into a room with a blouse on? We're going to pause for a second. We're going to take a break. We are talking right now. Let me just reset. Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped, a presentation of IMRU Radio. We're talking right now with Bianca Krieg, not just another politician, an actress, activist, and the first transgender woman to run for Congress, took on Nancy Pelosi's seat, signed a pledge for term limits, rewrote the Green New Deal for the fusion age, and has fought for universal basic income, Medicare for all, taxing the rich, and paradoxically, is a senior advisor to RFK Jr. and the brains behind the gold standard policy speech before his recent Senate confirmation, joined by a gay California native raised in Arizona, U.S. Served in the Navy under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, works in the nonprofit center, and is the upcoming 2025 Tampa Pride Grand Marshal. That's Luis Salazar, joined by Nick Biscardi, our third panelist. If this were TV, I wouldn't have to go through all this, but it's not TV for half of you listening on the radio. For those who are watching on YouTube at the Cary Harrison YouTube channel or on kpfk.net, kpfk.net, you're going to see it with your own eyeballs. The third panelist, Nick Biscardi, a gay Marine Corps veteran, healthcare professional, and advocate with a background in military service, medicine, and politics. Was discharged under the now repealed, Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. Maybe they'll repeal the repealing. We're going to find out more about that. As we pause here, this is Unzipped.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison. Your sex, your stories, and everything in between.
And it is Unzipped. Cary Harrison with you. Don't forget, you can get our free newsletter at caryharrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of this show. You're going to get clips. You're going to be able to read what we're all saying and understand and share those clips. You can also see us live streaming right now on our YouTube channel. You can simply Google Cary Harrison YouTube, CaryHarrison. Google Cary Harrison YouTube and subscribe so that we can stay connected when you show up at your destination. And then you can switch over and stream on your phone at the same channel. You can also easily find it at kpfk.net. We're talking right now to the Trump administration's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. head of Health and Human Services, senior advisor, Bianca von Krieg, also a trans woman. And we're talking about how this works in an administration that says it shouldn't work, but it does work in this situation. And we're getting a little focus on how that could work. And I'm learning, you're learning, we're all learning. She's learning too. We're also joined by Luis Salazar, who is a political activist with the Democratic Party, also going to be the upcoming Tampa Pride Grand Marshal, and Nick Biscardi, who is a doctor and a Marine Corps veteran, and all of whom are gay. That would include me too, by the way. I dare even say it publicly anymore. That makes me nervous. So that's another topic. Like, at what point do they come after us? Or do they? You've got eyes in Bianca von Krieg at the top of the administration. Are we next on the hit list?
Well, then you're gonna have to get behind Rick Grinnell, because apparently he's another person that Trump liked. He's also gay, and he's pointed as a special missionary to the something. So there's a number of minorities that Trump appoints. He doesn't have a problem with minorities. I think he has a problem with certain things actions that minorities do, and unfortunately reattributes those to their groups.
Let's open up the phones as well at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Your Harrison hotlines, 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. You're going to have thoughts, observations, questions we haven't thought of, angles, as you are part of the human race too, one of the upright mammals for whom this does matter and count. If you are straight, which probably 90% of the audience is, and you check a box called Other, maybe you eat cornflakes instead of Fruit Loops, maybe you're on that hit list too. Maybe you think you are. Maybe you're not sure. Maybe you watch porn. I don't know what goes on, but you're probably wondering what's next for you, and that's why this is a great conversation at 818-985-KPFK. Nick Biscardi, you were going to say something.
Yeah, Cary, I had a few things I just wanted to say. First of all, thank you for inviting me here on the panel. I'm very honored and happy to be here. I do want to bring up a couple of things. First of all, we all know that Donald Trump is only saying all of this stuff, like I think what Bianca said, is because it's attractive to his base. And if it makes people hate him or if it makes people, if it makes him happy to have his people hate us so that they love him, he's going to do it. He's going to distract. And I think that's something that Bianca had said, something to distract from, kind of what he's not able to do, which he promised his base. Another thing too, because we talked about it, and I think Bianca, you said something about improving on the culture of the military culture, something like that, and about being trans. But as Cary had mentioned, I was in the Marine Corps, discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And me being there and my fellow service members being there had absolutely nothing to do with the job that I did. I was deployed to the Middle East. When I came back, before I had deployed, they already knew that I was gay. And they decided to wait until I was finished my deployment when they discharged me. But I do want to say that all of the active members in the military, cisgender or transgender, all go through a level of training that has to be passed so that they can serve their country. No matter if they're cis, no matter if they are trans. And all of these people have done that. All they want to do is do their job and serve their country. And there's nothing in there, nothing about that that makes them what's the word I'm looking for? Destructive to the military culture. And I want to say that, and I want to personally say thank you to every cis and transgender member of the military that signed up knowing that they probably were not going to be liked and are decided to serve anyway.
Also, Cary, as Luis here again, as someone that served in the military in the depths of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, right? The very worst parts of it. I will tell you right now that I served with many LGBTQ plus people, including trans people, during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I served with a ton of them. And they are people that I love, I respect, and I would go to war for, and I would die for. And that they would die right next to me, serving right next to me at the same level. And these people were there during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and they're going to be there after. Just because you say we can't do something doesn't mean we disappear and we go away, right? They're going to be there, right? It's a matter of respect while you're there, of being respected for who you are and being respected for what you're going to do to your country or for your country and protecting it. Just because Donald Trump says, oh, no more trans people in the military, that isn't going to make them go away. They're still going to be there. Just like in our society, people are still existing, right? Just because you decide that you want to wipe them off with a T and a Q of a piece of paper doesn't mean they go away. They continue to exist.
Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped. You can go to caryharrison.com, please, and sign up for our free newsletter. We're going to give you a transcript of this, plus you're going to have access to a bunch of clips, as you will on our YouTube channel, which you can find at kpfk.net, kpfk.net. It's the Cary Harrison YouTube channel. We're talking right now to Bianca von Krieg, who ran for Congress against Nancy Pelosi. She's the current senior advisor for the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Bobby Kennedy, who I knew went on a Progressive Voices cruise some years ago before he evolved into the iteration that he is today, back when it was all about rivers and different things. But he's in a different river now. It's more of a, well, let's say the sluices have opened and it's a different reality.
Cary, Nick here, I will call it a shallow river.
I would call it a rapids of sort.
Call it a dirty moat.
I just want to say something real quick. I've never served in the military. I don't know anything about it. What I've gotten from other Trump advisors, from the national security level all the way down to just the basic colonel. And the one thing I heard that seemed particularly salient as far as trans people go, and this is referring to post-ops. And post-ops have to do a process, what's known as dilation, where they have to insert a dildo into the manufactured vaginal space in order to keep it from resealing. And that particular colonel, in this case, had a problem with their force readiness, because if they weren't able to do that, that could be a problem for them. And that actually seemed like a somewhat legitimate, criticism. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the president is the commander-in-chief of the military, and he can exclude whoever he wants. It's unfortunate, it's nasty, but that's just the reality of it.
Cary Lewis here again. Force readiness. I mean, women get pregnant in the military all the time. Is that going to affect our force readiness? It's just an excuse. It's apples and oranges. What is it going to make a difference? This is going to happen. This is something you have to prepare for. This is something they dealt with since the beginning of the military, since they've started. These are just excuses of why people that are willing to give their lives and willing to serve and willing to say, you know what, I'll take a bullet for America, are not allowed to do that. And that's discrimination, and it's hateful.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Nick, I was going to say that.
What if they were on the submarine?
Women serve on submarines. Women.
What if they gave birth while they're on a submarine? Like, what are they going to do?
That's not a thing. I'm sorry, Cary. This is Nick, Bianca. That's not a thing. And I think what you pointed out, obviously, is that you said that you never served in the military, and you're getting this secondhand information. So we're talking about a very, very small percentage of the United States military that is transgender. If every single one of them were not ready to go to war, it wouldn't affect force readiness at all. It would not affect force readiness. We have other things that could affect it too. What if I fell down and broke my leg? I would be out of commission. What if 10 people, fell down and broke their leg? They were all in the same battalion. They would be out of commission. It's not going to affect it. And I think, Luis, what you said, it's an excuse. It's an excuse. And when people say things like that, it's an attack. And I'm going to say it's an attack on our community, because our community, me being the G in the LGBT, is also part of the part of the T and the Q community. So it's another excuse. It's a distraction. I mean, I'm not going to speak for anybody that is transgender, because I am not transgender, but I will always fight for them. And I will fight for them, especially when they want to do something like serve our country. And that's the only thing they want to do.
Let's jump into the mastodon in the middle of the room, covered in thick fur and tusks, that has been unmentioned. Let's talk a little bit about what is the threat. Seriously, what is the threat to all the MAGA people, to Fox News, to everyone, about the gay person? Remembering that Alexander the Great, who conquered most of the known world, well, let's just say he had a boyfriend. The Emperor Hadrian of Rome, 50 years conquering Earth, had the boyfriend Antinous, even built a wall in front of Zeus's temple, Zeus, the greatest god of all gods. There are no car accidents in Athens when people drive by Hadrian's Gate. It just doesn't happen. If those two had been wiped off the face of the planet, we wouldn't have the wheel today, and definitely not the internet and porn. So what is the big scare about people who have changed civilization, upgraded us to the most modern age, if we had deleted them because, well, a politician said so? Just tell me, what is the threat? I don't get it.
Cary, Nick, there's no threat. It's become a threat recently because it's so, let's call it pretty, right? Because it's going to make our group or our community very unpopular, which is going to unify the racist and bigoted base that falls under the Trump administration and the people that vote for them. But there is no threat. And like you pointed out, we've been around forever.
Yeah, also, Cary, this is Luis here. The threat is ignorance, right? Whenever someone like a dictator takes over a country, who do they blame? The small percentage of people who they know they can destroy. And they know that they can get other people to hate. And unfortunately, that is who we are. And that is what's happening right now. There's people that, like Bianca said, are angry, right? And they are hungry. They need homes. They need so much stuff that's going on. And instead of focusing on getting those needs to people in our country, to making sure people are healthy by getting them health care, to make sure people get affordable housing, right? Instead of doing those things, we go, oh, we can't get those because you know what? Trans rights. Trans rights has ruined it all. You can't get affordable, healthy food because of trans people. So then you get people that are following this dictator that want to believe in everything he says, like we're in a cult, and to hate these people that are doing absolutely none of these things, right? It's what happens in dictatorships.
The other night I was at dinner, Cary Harrison with you, by the way. This is Unzipped. At a dinner party, there was a Marine, there's a lot of Marines here, it seems, or at least one of them that I know of. That would be Nick Biscardi. Wow. Another Marine, this guy is he's transitioning as we speak in some way or another. And he said, you know what trans people want? I said, what? Tell me, please. He said, we just want to be left alone. We just want to be not killed. We're not out looking for special rights. We're not looking for anything. Just not to be killed. Just leave us alone. Bianca von Krieg, you've been in the political world for many years. You're senior advisor to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Would you agree that that's what trans people want, or are you seeing that they want more and that's become an irritation?
Yeah, they actually want more than that, and they want like the surgeries they need to help them overcome their shortcomings. You know, and what they call is the technical term they use is gender identity disorder in the DSM. So and the treatment for that is generally hormone therapy and surgery. So that's what they want. And it's for the most part, we've been getting that since around 2018, at least in California. And it's been happening. It's been really good. There has been a little bit of predation by the plastic surgery community, but for the most part, it's been a great success. So yeah, that's what they want. And
but why is this a problem? Like, who cares if Mildred gets a hip replacement? I am not going to freak out in my apartment, take a ball-peen hammer, smash my TV set, empty out my refrigerator, and go crazy because Mildred had a hip replacement. It's not my business.
Also, Cary, I want to point out, though, also that is the treatment for what Bianca had said, the gender dysphoria. So this is something that so many nations have already agreed on, and it's been documented and studied for decades. This is the treatment. And when Bianca, you said that's also what they want. I mean, yeah, if I needed something medically that's going to save my life, I would also want that. But I want to point out that is the treatment, and that's what they want it, then that's what they should get.
And the thing is, most Republicans don't have a problem with that. They have a problem with people who aren't old enough to make that decision. And in this case, they're referring to minors, even with their parents' permission. That's where the friction happens.
Yeah, Bianca, this is Nick again. Sorry, I'm just wondering, like, do we know like how many minors actually get any type of gender affirming care? And obviously, like what gender affirming care encompasses. It could be anything as simple as dressing the way that you want to dress, all the way up to whatever type of surgery may be needed for their treatment. So we have to think about, does that really happen? I studied medicine. I worked in the healthcare system in 2 different countries. And it's not like you say, here's my 4-year-old. I want you to perform a gender affirming care operation on my 4-year-old. And they go and they do it the next day. And I think, Bianca, I know you know, but I just want to point it out so anyone listening, that they know that's not how things happen.
Also, Luis here, Bianca, I would ask you, what if you didn't have access to these surgeries or to this kind of medical treatment? What kind of life would you be living if the government said, you know what, Bianca, you can't be doing that? How would your life be?
Well, it'd be pretty shitty, but that's not what they're saying about me as an adult.
I think we caught that, Wendell. Thank you so much. Naughty words not allowed still in old-fashioned terrestrial broadcast radio. But we are going to go to the phones at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, 818-985-5735. Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped, reminding you we are live streaming right now on YouTube. You can simply go to the Cary Harrison YouTube channel at, well, cleverly enough, Google it. Cary Harrison YouTube, or kpfk.net, kpfk.net, where again, our Harrison hotlines are 818-985-KPFK. Let's go to Glendale, California. Say hello to G. You're on Unzipped. Hello, G.
Brother Cary Harrison, missed your show on Friday, most of it. Caught a little bit with the German gentleman at the end. I don't know if you took phone calls. How you doing? Listen, the few times I've talked to you, many times I've talked to you, I neglect to tell you, I am from the IRI, BKA, the Islamic Republic of Iran. I'm Muslim. This is Lewis Hill's radio station and E. John Lewis's radio station. This is a peace station. I don't care. I'm not from here. I don't live in the country of your three guests. I live on Geronimo's country, not George Washington's country. This is supposed to be a peace station. I know the new regime especially took off Code Pink and anti-war radio, but I don't care if somebody's indigenous or black or Asian or my people Muslim or gay or straight or trans. And if you're pointing a gun at me, I'm your enemy. You're my enemy. So this is supposed to be Lewis Hill's peace station. So it doesn't matter if we're coming from a liberal, because it's not a leftist point of view. A liberal, I'm being, discriminated against. I should be able to go kill people across the seas just like a white man can. That's ridiculous on Lewis Hill's radio station. I know Stephanie Wells and Mo Thomas and Maggie LaPeek have taken all the peace. Not that we had a lot of them, but the few that we did have, the peaceful Code Pink with Medea and Jessie, I forgot her name, Jody Evans and Scott Horton and anti-war radio. But we shouldn't be having this garbage on the air. We love you, Cary Harrison, but we need to have some peaceful people on the air, not people that are trying to kill people, Palestine and Russians and all that.
Well, thank you, G. You're wound up, and I love it, and I appreciate it. I think you're awesome. The point of this is because there are millions of people who don't understand this and think it's got to be true if it's coming out of the Oval Office. And so we're getting somebody who's actually connected to the Oval Office to give us an explanation and answer these questions. You're awesome, G. I really appreciate your call. Thank you so much. That opens up a Harrison hotline at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. As we continue to talk to Bianca von Krieg, she is a senior advisor with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the Health and Human Services Administration. We're also joined by Luis Salazar. He is going to be the Tampa Pride Grand Marshal, is also an activist with the LGBTQ plus Democratic Caucus in Tampa, Florida. Florida, of course, being one of the most important states in the union for politics. Joined by Nick Biscardi, a gay Marine Corps veteran, healthcare professional, and advocate with a background in military service, also an activist with the Democratic Party. And we're talking about what all of this means, where it's going, where it's unfolding, as we pause here on Unzipped to return to have more conversation, open up more calls at 818-985-KPFK. Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between.
And it is Unzipped. Cary Harrison with you. I wish we were talking about sex and your stories, but we're talking about the story of now, the reality of the future. This is regrettably no longer the age where we can sit around and do meditation courses and lollygag and luxuriate in the soft folds of the easiness of life. This is existential now for many people. So we're having a little reality check here and finding out who's pointing the guns and why, and to which bodies the bullets will be received, whether invited or not. People are targeted for real. Immigrants are being rounded up. Transgender people are being removed, erased, scotched for reasons we're learning about, whether we agree or not. We're learning about it because these are obvious questions like, so what's the deal and where is this going to go? We've got a panel right now of Bianca von Krieg. She is the senior advisor to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Health and Human Services Director under the Trump administration. We're also with Luis Salazar. He's a Democratic activist and also the Grand Marshal of the Pride Parade here in Florida, which is a very important state in election times when there are elections, if you could call them those nowadays, with gerrymandering and fun going on. Joined by Nick Biscardi, who's also a physician, a previous victim of Don't Ask, Don't Tell when it was repealed. He got an honorable discharge. Will that repeal be repealed? Hopefully not for him, but who's to say what's going on? Bianca, quick question, because not to bypass all of the stuff that you're involved in. You've advocated for defunding the police, which is probably exciting to a bunch of people, not so exciting to the Republican Party, for which you stand. How do you cut back on law enforcement while keeping people safe?
Okay, one, I do not stand for the Republican Party, okay? And anybody who thinks, Donald Trump winning the election was a victory for the Republican Party doesn't understand what's going on. Okay, one, the election was more like a Democratic failure. But two, Donald Trump could have created his own party called the McNugget Party and won. They were in love with change and what Donald Trump had to say. The second part of your question is that we can keep people safe by properly housing them and treating them. We know that when you house people, they are so much less likely to commit crimes. Most of these crimes being committed in the street are acts of desperation. Sometimes they go wrong because they have weapons and there might be some drugs involved. But most of these crimes being done by desperation. No little kid grows up and says, I want to be a low-life gangster. Everybody wants to contribute to their community and everybody wants to grow as a person. So we need to have housing, we need to have support. Housing is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. Safety is a human right. And we can deliver that. Now, in our day and age with this technology, we can do it. And that's what I try and help. Now, I make it my mission. And I know Bobby makes it his mission to help people understand, make the president understand good virtues. We've had a discussion and we said, for better or for worse, we are now the president's men. And as such, we must preserve his legacy and give him the best information to make the best decision. And I don't think you'd mind me saying that. And we have to do that. Okay, so it's defunding the police is more like a covenant, right? Because the way politics works is, the police funding is more like a lagging indicator, right? You see some bad things and you say, well, the only solution to that is to have more police out there because that'll make it go away. Best case scenario, that sweeps away, but the problem still exists. So you have to invest in solutions. Unfortunately, these solutions take a long time to grow, right? Another thing that we did when I was running for Congress, one of our major platforms was space launch redundancy of social services, right? So we need to have redundancy because failure is possible because of compartmentalization, right? There's a single point of failure in social services.
This is actually a good pivot point, Bianca von Krieg, because I think it's important for people who are not gay to hear that gay people like Nick and Luis actually care about food, water, shelter, sustainability, happiness,
Absolutely.
health, military, and people are being told from the White House, from the commander-in-chief, that this is simply not true. Gay people have zero interest in any kind of plebiscite or civil society whatsoever, that they're there to disrupt it and blow it up. But it simply isn't true. Let's hear from our other panelists. Do you think that clean water and a good education for people's children is valuable?
Cary, it's Nick here. So I want to say a couple of things. First of all, absolutely, to your question, obviously that's something that we all should care about and what I would hope any presidential administration would look for. Another thing too is that I just want to point out that I was discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I just want to say this because I think it deserves a shout out. Under honorable conditions because I was gay. The Biden administration ordered a review of everyone discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And because of that effort, they've upgraded it to an honorable discharge. So I wanted to thank his administration for that. Another thing I wanted to tell you is that I agree with that last caller about we shouldn't be focused on the military in general. That was just a subject, that was brought up as part of being gay or what you say, trans in the Trump administration. I wish we could be peaceful like no other country, but unfortunately that's not happening right now. I did want to ask, Bianca, how, when you talk about things like universal health care and housing for everyone and everything is a universal right, how do you get that done when Donald Trump has a base that is against everything that you stand for when it comes to housing, and when it comes to, universal health care, there's no way that my MAGA brother, and I'll say it, is going to be okay with saying, okay, we need to give everyone health care in the country because it's a right, which it is a right. And I want to tell you, I've been in healthcare. I've been working in healthcare in other countries where it is a right, and everyone in that country gets very good healthcare.
That's a great question, Nick, and thank you for posing it. One, I'm a progressive, and I ran against Pelosi on that platform, and Donald Trump loves the work I did. He doesn't love my platform, but he loves the work I did. But the thing is that, I have to work in the confines of what he wants. If he gives me an order, I have to do it when I come on payroll. If he gives Bobby an order, he has to do it. But the thing is that we believe these are the best, I believe these are the best programs that need to happen in order to make us a successful society. And a point of interest here is that when I ran for Congress in San Francisco twice, both times I was supported. I got the shadow endorsement of the San Francisco Republican Party because of my support for universal basic income, right? And that's because there are so many small businesses in San Francisco, and this helps them so much because it allows us to reimagine minimum wage. And I believe this could be a stepping stone to the national platform, right? To help them see the value of a lot of social programs. I put together a lot of deals between the Progressive and Freedom Caucus. And so many Freedom Caucus people came up to me and said, we like a lot of your social programs. A lot of our members could benefit from them, but we don't want to write a blank check to the world, implying that they wanted a closed border and they wanted to get, the illegal immigrants out.
I'm going to jump in, and I'm not. No matter what I do, it's rude, because if I jump in, it's just rude. But I have to do that because we're up against the clock, down to the last couple of minutes. And I just want to throw one last thing at you, Bianca von Krieg. You're senior advisor to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. under the Trump administration. What do you say to people who call you a collaborator?
If anything, I've never been a collaborator in my life. I would have been a collaborator, I'd be a lot richer than, sitting here in my bedroom with my dog, okay? I'm an agent of change, and, I work with people who can make change. Is Donald Trump the ideal person that I'd like to be working with right now? No, that'd be Bernie Sanders. But I got two things I can work with this man. One, he does what he says. And two, he has integrity. And I know a lot of people are shaking their heads right now, but he does have integrity, or he would not have held out this long. He's not making any money out of what he's. Yeah,
sorry, Bianca. This is Nick here. I don't.
Yeah, I can.
I don't know. I know people that are avid Trump supporters that don't believe he has any integrity, but they love his policies, whatever that means. We talked to Luis and I. We talked to a woman in Newport Richie. I'm a proud Trump supporter, but I can't stand the man. He has no integrity. Those were her words. So when you say someone like him has integrity, it just. Woo!
Collaborator.
Do you believe Biden had integrity? Do you believe Kamala Harris had integrity?
Yes, I do believe that, and I see it by the actions. I see it by the actions.
They had no integrity.
Well,
then we disagree.
To close it out, Bianca, Luis here, and you are right. He does do what he says, and what he does is horrible. It's affecting a lot of people, and it's going to hurt a lot of people, and it's going to make us more ununited than anything. And he's doing it in pure spite.
Agreed. And it's going to hurt the people in the states that voted for him the most.
Okay. Well, what a great way to wrap.
Yes. Sorry, Bianca.
Well, let's all hope that whatever we can do that makes things better, that we do that. And we're going to hold each other accountable and responsible. That, I think, should be our compact, no matter who we are and where we are. Nobody gets a free ride to just fart around and take advantage of power, money, and prestige. If any of us has that access, then we have a new accountability and a new responsibility. Cary Harris, what's that?
When the free ride comes, please let me know, because I'll be the first to sign up for it. I haven't had a free ride in 43 years. I'm still waiting for trickle down to hit me.
Well, that would be
Trickle down is dead.
Yeah, that would be an event, I think, in San Francisco called Folsom Street Fair. It's also in Berlin. Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped. Don't forget, you can get our free newsletter at caryharrison.com, caryharrison.com, where you get a transcript of this show. Plus, you'll be able to get clips on our YouTube channel simply by going to kpfk.net or the Cary Harrison YouTube channel. Very much enjoyed having you all here on Unzipped, and we will look forward to another edition of Unzipped every other week here on IMRU on KPFK in Los Angeles. See you next time.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between.